Hi everyone, welcome back to ITA and happy back to school season. My name is Liliana and I'll be your ACT prep instructor for this year. And a little bit about me, I am a master's student at the University of Wisconsin-Madison and I am studying public affairs. And I'm actually a fellow ITA alumnus. So this year, my goal is to help prepare you to take the ACT exam. And today we'll cover the basics of the exam so you know exactly what to expect come test day. And if you have any questions or need some support, I'm very communicative, obviously during ITA sessions and of course over email. So with that, please make sure to review the class syllabus on Canvas to go over student expectations and see the class schedule. But if at any time during the year you have specific questions, please reach out to me. Okay, so with that, let's jump into the ACT exam, an overview. Today we'll be talking about an overview of the exam. We'll give some ACT strategies, and then we'll end our time today with a quick assignment. Okay, so what is the ACT test? The ACT literally stands for the American College Test. Yep, that's right. It's a standardized test that's supposed to determine a high schooler's preparedness for college. And I should say that in the last few years, the ACT test has become somewhat controversial in the sense that many people argue that the exam doesn't actually tell us a whole lot about a student's college readiness. The ACT actually has a long-standing issues of bias, inaccuracy, and misuse. So it's becoming more and more common that colleges are no longer requiring these exams as a component of students' college admissions. But on the other hand, there are still a lot of colleges that do still require it. UW-Madison, for example, is not one of these colleges, and they do not require the ACT exam for now, related to reasons of the pandemic. But with this being said, they may or may not decide to bring it back in the future. So all of this is to say that in the end, the ACT simply measures how well you take the ACT exam, nothing more and nothing less. Okay, so what does the ACT cover? What's on the ACT? Well, it's divided into 5 sections, which is the English, Math, Reading, Science, and Writing test. So in this class, we will dive deeper into each of these sections and we'll give you some practice examples and you will be able to take practice exams too that will help prepare you for the real thing. Okay, so when should you take the ACT? All of you will be taking the ACT for free as a part of MMSD's Juniors Only ACT Testing Day, and this will happen on March 8th of 2022. And the good news is that if you don't like your scores, or if you want to take the ACT exam again for any reason, you can, and ITA will cover the cost of this exam that you take outside of the MMSD testing day. At ITA, we recommend that you take the exam twice since you'll be able to do so at no cost. And if you register to take the ACT outside of MMSD's Junior Only Day, you will need to register for the exam well in advance of testing day. Please refer to this presentation slide with the information on how to do so. With that being said, there will also be a page on our Canvas course called ACT Info, and all of this information and a little bit more will be posted there too. So please go check that out. And as I said earlier, UW-Madison will not be requiring the ACT, but you can still include your scores if you believe that they will be helpful to your application. I will say that including your scores will never hurt your odds at getting into UW-Madison. So in the end, it will really be up to you if you want to include your scores in your UW-Madison application. Okay, the ACT prep book that we'll be using this year is called the Princeton Review. And this book is where you'll have access to various practice tests, and it will also be the place where your homework will live. You don't have these books yet, but they will be delivered to you in the mail in the next few weeks here. But until then, I will post your homework assignments on Canvas as scanned photos, and you can complete your homework this way. So one question that we often get is, how many times should you take the ACT? The Princeton Review recommends planning to take the ACT 2 to 3 times, and you have a maximum of 12 allowed attempts. With that being said, though, please do not do this. Taking the ACT 12 times is, for one, it's very extreme, and two, your scores probably won't change that much if you take it that many times. And also, that would just be way too much money to spend on taking an ACT exam. And there are also better ways to spend your time that are more impactful to improving your chances at getting into college, like working on your college essays or getting more involved in extracurricular activities. So don't take your ACT exam more than 2 or 3 times. Okay, so a quick note on scoring. The ACT is broken down into 2 types of scores. This will be your composite score or your total score, and then your individual section scores. So each section of the exam is graded, and you will have different section scores for each of those. For your composite or your total score again, those range anywhere from 1 through 36. And a student's composite ACT score is the average of the student's scaled scores for the 4 multiple choice test sections. One other note is that the writing section score isn't included in your composite score, so it's not included in your total score. Some schools do not require the writing section, but we think it's best to take the ACT writing section regardless because, again, it can't negatively impact your score, and schools might be impressed that you took the initiative to take the writing section regardless. Okay, so where do your results go? Once you take the test, your scores will normally be available 2 weeks after the testing date, and they will be available online using the My ACT account. And a couple of notes regarding the scores is that students can select up to 4 colleges to send the ACT scores to at the time of the registration. So you can select 4 schools when you take the ACT exam that you want your scores to be sent to. One thing to note, though, that is important is that students will not be able to view their scores before the score reports are sent to those 4 colleges. So your scores will already be sent to the colleges by the time that you see them. With that being said, though, most schools at this point, UW-Madison included, will allow you to specify if you'd like your scores used in your admission review or not. And they do honor that code. So if you didn't score as highly as you wanted, or you don't want your scores included in consideration of your application, then you can choose to leave those out, and the college selection committees will honor that. Okay. So the average profile of an incoming freshman at the University of Wisconsin-Madison has a composite ACT score of a 27 through 32, usually, according to data from 2019 and 2020. I'm going to tell you right now that 27 through 32 is pretty high, and I definitely did not have that score when I applied, and I still got in. And this is back when ACT scores were required, and now they're not. So please remember that your application will be looked at with a holistic perspective. And this means that the selection committee will look at your extracurricular activities, your transcripts, which show which classes you took and what grades you got in them, your college essays, and of course your letters of recommendation. So this will only be one aspect of the many components that colleges look at when reviewing your application. Okay, so another question that we get from students is when they say, well, if the ACT isn't required for the schools that I'm applying to, then why should I even study? And my answer to this always is that of all the components that will be in your college application, your ACT score is the easiest to modify and to improve. You probably at this point can't do a whole lot to change your grades, and you probably don't have a whole lot of time to change your extracurricular activities that much by this point either. So your score will never be counted against you, so you might as well do your best to take the ACT exam anyway. Okay, folks, I know that was a lot of information that I just gave you about this ACT exam, and I know it can be a little bit stressful, but don't get stressed out. It'll be okay, and I'm here for you if you need support. So we are going to finish off this first lesson with a short and sweet assignment. Right now, literally right now as you're watching this video, I want you to email me with the subject line ACT Prep HW or homework, and tell me your name, which school you attend, and your mailing address so that we can confirm your address and get your ACT prep book to you as soon as possible. And then I want you to tell me one thing that you hope to learn in this course. And that will be officially due tomorrow, September 12th at 10 a.m. But I really recommend that you do this now because it is a really short assignment, and once you get it over with, you won't have to think about it until next time that we meet. All right, thank you. Bye now.